I'm a mom just trying to survive on cold coffee, low expectations, and the hope that screen time isn't actually ruining my kids. I miss MySpace and sleeping in, and I swear I used to be fun. I'm Nikki, your fellow millennial mom figuring it out one day at a time. This is Side Part Podcast for the chaos coordinators, the overthinkers, and anyone who's ever hidden in the bathroom just to finish a chapter. We're embracing imperfection, finding pockets of joy, and figuring it out together. Let's hang out for a bit. Welcome back to another episode of Side Part. I'm Nikki, your host, and today I am so excited to talk to you about the ACOTAR 6 announcement and just what it means to me and what it means for the bookish community. I also want to briefly touch on Crescent City and my opinion as to whether or not you should or shouldn't read it. I've seen a lot of people with their opinions on this, and I just thought I'd give you my 2 cents. I don't think it will stress you out, so please don't let that deter you from listening to this episode. I also want to add a new segment called Musings of Millennial Mom. Basically, it's my brain dump for the week, things I've either been struggling with or things that I think would be helpful, or honestly, it's just kind of a catch-all, and I think it'd be kind of fun to add, and it's my podcast, so I can do that. And lastly, I want to do a book chat on A Curse Carved in Bone by Danielle L. Jensen. I read it with my Discord group, and I just really think it would be fun to briefly chat about it. It's going to be chaotic and a bunch of my disjointed thoughts, but nonetheless, I think it would be fun to chat about it. So let's get into it. I'm a big fan of a duology. I know I've talked about it on my Instagram, but duologies for me, I don't know, they just pack a really good punch. And I am all about, like, I don't know how to explain this. I am someone who likes to have achievements. I like to finish things, and series can sometimes feel a little overwhelming to start and finish. But something about a duology, you feel like you accomplish something when you finish both books, and you kind of get that series feeling without the overwhelming task of reading 5 books that are 600 pages each. You know what I mean? So we'll unpack that book at the end. But first things on the docket, let's chat about ACOTAR 6 and the announcement. Like, I want to break down this announcement. Haven't seen the reel. Essentially, SJM announced ACOTAR 6 with, I think it was like 3 images / videos. So there was one of her closing her laptop, and Tina Belcher was on there. And it was also like I think it was a Yosemite Club sticker was on the laptop. So she shut that. She shut a composition book, and there was ACOTAR 6 written on it. And then I think one was her like popping champagne in the mountains. I think those were the 3 images. Now, this like 4-second reel has somehow taken over the internet. Okay, let's talk about the composition notebook first, because my goodness, I spent way too much time looking at this composition notebook. I don't know what I think it is anymore, if I'm being quite honest. So we know the first word is ACOTAR. Fine. Now there's 3 things I've really seen people think it is. ACOTAR M-D. Okay, that's like kind of what I'm leaning towards here. Someone's saying it's like a millennial arrow. So it's like ACOTAR and then like an arrow. You know, how I used to write them in high school anyway. And then the last one would be like ACOTAR /8. ACOTAR 6-8 does not seem probable to me. I really don't think she's outlined 2 books in a composition book. So what I really think it is it's ACOTAR 6 M-D. Basically either D for draft, or D as in she sequenced her outline / drafting notebooks like A, B, C, D, and that was like the final draft book. A lot of people out there think we're getting multiple books. I don't think we're going to be that lucky. I really think put her heart and soul into ACOTAR 6. I've seen some people say that A Court of Frost and Starlight would be ACOTAR 3.5. So that would make A Court of Silver Flames ACOTAR 4. And then if she wrote ACOTAR 6, that means we're getting 5 and 6. I think from a publishing standpoint, I've seen conflicting evidence on this. I think we're just getting 1 book. I know it's sad, but I think that's what it is. I think we're just getting the 1 book, but what an exciting time to be on Bookstagram, to have all this speculation and the theorizing, and I missed it. I do love just how SJM can just throw everybody into a frenzy. Truly, I love it. It's like Christmas morning for me. I was just really excited to come on here and chat with you guys about it, because I just feel like it's so special. It's just special. Oh, and then another thing is she obviously had a purple ring when she shut her laptop that we all saw. So a lot of people think we might be getting a purple book. Now, I would like a purple book. I really would. But I don't know. I think like ACOTAR has like that magenta-y color, so I'm not sure if they would go purple, but we'll see. We'll see. I could be wrong. But maybe a purple book? I don't know. Okay, so one thing I haven't seen a lot of people talk about, so there was a couple mountain references there. So we saw like the composition book had the mountains on it, and the Yosemite Club mountains again. And so a lot of people think this is going to be Asriel's book, mountains, Illyria, or Illyrian, like the Illyrian steppes and things like that. So we're thinking it's probably going to be Asriel that we're getting this book about. But what I haven't seen as many people talk about is the possibility of an overlap with Throne of Glass. Now, I don't know if that's really going to be the vibe. I feel like Crescent City kind of tying the worlds in together and truly making it like a Massverse situation. I don't think it went over the best. I don't know if people liked it, and I don't know. But she's also like never fully shut down the idea that like Throne of Glass is done. I don't know where I saw this, and I will credit whoever said this, but there was a clip floating around where she's like, I don't know about Throne of Glass. It doesn't feel done, but it's done, but I don't know. I could be totally misremembering that. Remember, I am postpartum and my brain is complete mush, but I don't know. Do I think that the mountains could also symbolize Terrassen? I'm probably saying that wrong. Full disclosure, I say like a lot of things wrong. I don't listen to a ton of audiobooks, so I'm just sorry. I'm sorry if however I pronounce anything like grinds your gears, but here we are. The mountain cold and pine scented air are Rowan, right? And so a lot of times in Throne of Glass, when like aliens were calling him, it was a lot of like scent references, right? To mountains, to pine. And we see a lot of these references in this announcement for ACOTAR 6. So a lot of people are saying Illyria, like references to Illyria, but there's been a smaller subset of people that go, is this like a Rowan or a Terrassen reference? I don't know. Maybe, but I don't know. I don't know. Rowan's magic is like wind and ice passing through the pine trees. I remember them like describing it like that. So I don't know. Are we getting like a Rowan Aelin crossover in this book? I don't think so, but I thought it was worth mentioning. It's fun to speculate, you know? Now, what do I think? I really think this book will follow as. I mean, Homeboy needs a win. Homeboy needs a book for him. He's like the only bad boy that's not paired up. Now, who do I want him to end up with? I feel bad for saying this, but don't hate me. I don't love Elaine. I don't hate her. I'm not like on the Elaine hate train, but do I want a whole book about her? Not currently. Now, SJM's also the queen of like character development and changing your mind about a character. So I don't want to completely say like I don't want Asriel to end up with Elaine. With what we currently know about her, I'm not the biggest fan. I would rather have him end up with Gwen. But assuming he gets his book, I know whatever SJM chooses to do, I'm probably going to love. But low-key, I really hope this book's about Az. I love Nesta. My Finch bird is named after Nesta. I just don't know if I want a full book just about Nesta's story again. I feel like I'd love like a little piece to be about her, because I don't know, her story doesn't feel quite done to me. But do I want a whole book about Nesta? I feel like we got that. I feel like I got enough in Silver Flames. Okay, so one last thing I want to talk about is Tina Belcher was on the laptop. Initially, I was like, cool, she likes Bob's Burgers. Who doesn't? Love Bob's Burgers. Hilarious. I don't feel like it was quite that simple. After I initially talked about it, people came swarming in my DMs and were like, hey, hold on a second. Hear me out. I wrote a few things down. You guys all had me second guessing myself because, well, one, Tina's boy crazy, which I don't know how that applies to this announcement, but I think it's important for context, but she likes to write erotic fan friend fiction. Okay, so are we getting a spicy book? I don't know. She's obsessed with horses. Is there going to be a Pegasus? Is this a nod to Jelly Jubilee? I don't know. I feel like yes, maybe. Or SJM just like really likes Bob's Burgers. I mean, I may be reading into this a little too much. Okay, but also, Tina loves vamps and like zombies, right? So it's giving House of Flame and Shadow. Is this a possible nod to like Crescent City? I don't know. I guess like the main thing I want to talk about was how bad the book community needed this. If I'm being honest, I got to a place where I felt like the book community was getting so heavy and like negative. Honestly, negative. I mean, when I first started Bookstagram, I felt like I was coming home. I felt like it was so cozy and I really loved it. I don't know. I don't know if it's postpartum and I'm just in a funk, but I was just like, ugh. Like, I don't know if what am I doing here? Like, I don't love this. But then I swear the music in my head when SJM announced ACOTAR 6, he was like, okay, you don't need to hear me do that. It's like, I felt like it was awesome. I don't know. It just felt like this is my Super Bowl. It's my championship. Like, I'm so excited. ACOTAR, I feel like sometimes people often conflate like the best series they've ever read with their favorite series. And ACOTAR, is it like technically the best book I've ever read? No. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, technically there's books that were like, I feel like stylistically I appreciate it more. But there's something about ACOTAR, it just holds such a special place in my heart. And I feel like this has been the story for so many people that I've run into, but postpartum is hard. Postpartum is so hard. I've talked about it before, how ACOTAR kind of pulled me out of a really like lonely place, but there's this reverence I hold for this series, kind of like marking, it's like my story, my history, right? And there's before ACOTAR and after ACOTAR. There's something that happened when I decided to pick up that book that just really changed my perspective on how I choose to show up for myself. And I will always be grateful to that series for that. It opened up my whole world. It brought me here. ACOTAR gave me the courage to do things that are scary. And it made me not fear. ACOTAR helped me not to fear failure. It encouraged me to put myself out there. I wouldn't be doing this podcast without ACOTAR. I just wouldn't have. I spent so much of my life trying to be perfect and being so fearful of doing things if I wasn't going to be perfect at them. And so I'm really grateful to ACOTAR. Next book coming out it just means so much to me. So I'm really excited for that. I have seen so many people talk about, do you need to read Crescent City, like the series, before you read ACOTAR 6? There's so many opinions out there. My short answer is no, you really don't. But hear me out. Here's my long answer. It just depends on the type of person that you are. Are you someone who skimmed, maybe even skipped Assassin's Blade and didn't really care about the backstory? Are you fine with hearing spoilers about Crescent City? Because truly, I could sum up the ACOTAR crossover in like 3 sentences or less. Now, contextually, are you going to miss a lot of the pieces that maybe might impact ACOTAR 6? Possibly, you might, but I don't think you have to. I think if you're fine getting spoilers for Crescent City, you don't really feel the need to read it. They're really long books. I get it. I get it. I think you'll be fine. Just read a summary of the series, and I literally DM me. I will give you a summary in a few sentences, and you can go right along to ACOTAR 6 and be just fine. Now, do I think you should read it for vibes purposes? Yes, I loved Crescent City 1. Okay. What are thy thoughts on the series as a whole? Loved the first book, enjoyed the second. I struggled through the third. Ooh, I feel so bad saying that. I wanted to like that book so bad. So bad. But I think there was so much hype for it. And I feel like people wanted ACOTAR 6 out of Crescent City 3. And that just wasn't going to happen. I think there's some stylistic things with the third book too that I didn't love, like the mid-chapter jumps from POVs that felt kind of clunky. But I actually didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. I just think I was expecting more ACOTAR. That wasn't what the book was. It was Crescent City 3 with a couple like guest features from some ACOTAR 6 characters. So do I think you should read it? Yes, because I do enjoy the series. Like if you're just like, oh, I've heard some negative things. Honestly, just going for the vibes. The first book is so fun. I loved the first book. I felt like, I mean, who doesn't love a contemporary fantasy? You don't get those too often. I think Laura Thalassa wrote Rhapsodic. That was like a contemporary fantasy. That was the first time I really saw that. And then I read Crescent City. But usually, like, fantasy books don't have that vibe. They don't have modern technology kind of inserted with this fantasy element. And it's really fun and refreshing. It also has very different vibes from her other two series. I feel like Throne of Glass was very heavy fantasy forward. I mean, I love Throne of Glass. I really did. But this series just had such a different vibe. I think it would be a really fun read. If you're looking, though, for ACOTAR and Crescent City, the vibes are just so different. I don't think you'll find that type of vibe. But I do think it's worth reading. Not just for ACOTAR 6, though. Just because I think it's a fun series. But you have to read it. No. Here's the fun thing about reading. You can literally do whatever you want. You can read whatever you want. You could read spoilers. You could read summaries and then just continue on. You can skip books. You can do whatever you want. I don't think there's anything you have to do. But I do think it's worth reading. If you love Sarah J. Maas and you love her work, I think you will love it. Or at least enjoy it enough to keep going and get through the third book. All right, it's time for Musings of Millennial Mom. Now, do I know what this segment will look like week to week? Absolutely not. I have no clue. But what I do know is it's going to be very tangential. There will be lots of ramblings. I'm going to unpack things that have been rolling around my brain. Maybe unload some things I've been struggling with. Maybe gift you some things I've been inspired by, hoping they inspire you too. I'm going to be honest, that won't be this week. Maybe some therapy like wisdom. I don't know. Sometimes things just spill out of my mouth and they are somewhat profound. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. There's been two heavy themes that I've been really struggling with this week. And one is mom guilt. And the other one is imposter syndrome. That question of do I belong here comes up time and time again in so many areas, not just online, but I mean, in almost every aspect of my life, I've always struggled with this perfectionist attitude. And if I'm not doing it perfect, I feel like I don't have worth or value or my voice doesn't matter. And it's just so hard to break that line of thinking. It's awful. And with this podcast, I feel like this has almost been, in a sense, like therapy for me, because I'm pushing myself to do something and maybe not do it perfectly, maybe not even do it good. But I'm doing it and I'm putting myself out there knowing that I maybe only have like 20 people that watch it week to week. But even if I have one person that messages me and says, thank you for just sharing this, it made the week a little bit less lonely. I feel like I served my purpose and I've connected with that one person and I feel a lot less alone. And that's the whole point, you know? That's truly the whole point, is to connect with other people. And I don't know if this is just my academic brain telling me this, but I always feel like I have to be qualified. Like I need some stamp of approval or a degree to just enjoy life. It's wild to me, but I like, do I have a am I qualified to be on here yapping about books and just talking about life? Like do I need to get like a degree first? Is there something I should read before I do this? Some sort of training? And it's just wild that I've lived my whole life feeling like I'm just never prepared enough to do the things that I want to do. And sometimes I wonder how many things I've held myself back from because I just felt like I couldn't do them perfectly. And life is so messy and it's not perfect. And it's you're going to fail at stuff. I mean, that's just inevitable. That's part of life, is this up and down of failure. And then maybe, honestly, sometimes you never get that, you never fully accomplish what you want to accomplish, but there's beauty in that too. There's beauty in abandoning projects and then coming back to them later, or not coming back to them at all, and learning something about yourself along the way. Like, I always have like this theme in my head of like, oh my gosh, why is everyone better than me at this? Or why are people so much, they just seem to have it all together. Like, why do I struggle so bad? I'm guilty of this too, but I think people just see, or people let you see what they want you to see. And vulnerability is tough. Showing people the pieces that make you feel insecure, or kind of show that you're a flawed person. It's tough to show the people those pieces because it feels raw and it feels yucky, and it doesn't feel comfortable. And quite frankly, I don't think people need to see every piece of you. I don't know if that's healthy, right? Like, sometimes I think we tend to overshare on the internet, and not every problem needs to be aired. I really try to focus on things that I struggle with personally, because I feel like it helps me connect with others. But there's a line with my personal life that I try not to cross, especially when it comes to my kids. I might say, oh, today was a tough day, but I'm never going to tell you about individual struggles my kids have, because like, that's their journey, that's their life. And out of respect for their privacy, I try not to blur those lines. So trust me, there's things I struggle with as a mom that I would love to share with you all, but I just don't know if that's appropriate. But as far as postpartum and just me being a raging perfectionist who is healing, I feel like that rolls into the mom guilt piece really nicely. I feel like if I take time away from my kids, it has to be worth it. I have to have something to show for it, whether it's a monetary gain or some tangible evidence that the time I took away was worth it. And I think that's why I struggle so much with like self-care and balance in my life, because truly I go to sleep every night, most nights at least, feeling like I just didn't do enough as a mom. Because I always see some mom doing it better, somehow having better balance, or more compassionate, or they did more fun things with their kids, where I'm just like serving mac and cheese and trying to make it through the day. And I'm like, why can't I be better? And I hear this phrase tossed around so much, like, oh, social media is a highlight reel. But at the end of the day, there are moms that are kind of doing better than you in some things. And instead of comparing, like, let's celebrate those moms. Like, wow, you're awesome. You're killing it. You're doing amazing. At the same time, I've been really challenging myself every night to like say one thing I did well as a mom that day. And that does not come naturally to me. Let me tell you, as a perfectionist, that does not come naturally to me. I struggle with that. I saw this quote recently, though, that I might not be where I want to be, but I'm exactly where I wanted to be 2 years ago, and that's pretty awesome. I'm not perfect. I'm not going to be perfect, but I can do a little bit better than I did the day before. And so I think one thing I'm really trying to work on is abandoning perfection and just more kind of striving for improvement. And over the long term, right? There's some days that you are phoning it in because it's just been rough, honestly. But you dust yourself off and you don't deem anything as good or bad, but you just deem it as what it is. And then you just try to be a little better the next day. Try to, if you, with a brand new baby, sometimes I feel like I'm in survival mode. So I'll try to at least give my kids each like 20 minutes of undivided attention where I just spend time with just them and I do whatever they want to do. And I think it heals both of us a little bit. But there's some days I feel so wiped and I just wish I was a better mom. And I'm working on just honestly lending myself compassion that I lent to so many other people. So yeah, those are the two big heavy hitters this week. And I'm hoping this segment will get a little bit more positive as time goes on, but postpartum has been so hard. Honestly, I feel like my health is a mess, and I finally reached out to a doctor to figure out what the heck's going on. I still have zero answers, but I'm trying to just take better care of myself so I can take care of everyone else. And I think that's a win, and I'm going to count it as a win. But man, it took a lot of effort to want to do that, because man, I just want to survive and get through this and put my head down and get through this really difficult season. And the only way out is through, and you can't not feel the things that you need to feel. I really believe that moving through the difficult times is what gives us strength, even if you feel really weak at the moment. So this month, my Discord read A Curse Carved in Bone Together by Danielle L. Jensen. Before I dive into the book chat, I want to do a shameless plug for my Discord group. I just love this little community we've made. Each month, our community votes on a book. You can literally suggest any book you want, and then everyone votes on them. And not only do we read books together, but we have a little like self-care support group. There's like side channels for moms for just yapping about books. There's a little community for writers. I mean, there's threads for popular series. It's just like a really great community and a really special place to be. So if you are interested in joining, on my Instagram, I have a link tree and you can easily just click and join the Discord. But nonetheless, let's start the book chat for A Curse Carved in Bone. So this is the second book in the duology following A Fate Inked in Blood. This duology is Norse-Inspired, and I'm honestly obsessed. I'm someone who took a mythology class in college, and that was about the extent of my Nordic mythology knowledge. I will never get over Danielle Jensen's writing style. I loved The Bridge of Kingdom. I read all the books. I really just enjoy her writing style. I feel like all her books carry vibes that don't quite feel like anything else. I will say this book took me a good 5 or 6 chapters to really get into it, and not because it wasn't good. Truly, I remember nothing from the first book. I remember not a single thing. I read the first book, I think about 2 years ago. I got an ARC for A Fate Inked in Blood. And while I loved it, I completely forgot everything. I mean, my brain is already mush, and I really thought I could just go in a second book and it'd be easy to follow, and it wasn't. I will recommend, please read a summary of book 1 if you're planning on reading book 2 and it's been a minute, because you will feel very lost. This book was a little bit different. The first book was just Freya's point of view, where this book you get dual POV between Freya and Bjorn. And I really enjoyed that because Freya's POV was very downtrodden. I mean, she's depressed. She feels betrayed. I should say there will be spoilers for the whole duology in this episode. So please, maybe don't listen if you don't want any spoilers. Some people felt like Bjorn's POV kind of disrupted the flow of the story. I didn't feel like that. I truly really needed the break. I needed the break from Freya's just her anger, her outrage, her depression, her sadness, her utmost betrayal. I just needed that, I wouldn't say levity, because you could just getting that insight into Bjorn's perspective was just like a nice break. I appreciated it. I think it adds to the story. It does not take away. I actually liked his mom in this book, right? When they go to visit Saga, who is his mom, I loved her vibe. I thought she was hilarious, like kind of funny, and she was very like, almost had like a flippant vibe at sometimes where you thought she'd be a little bit more serious as a seer. Now we find out later that his mom's actually Loki, and it makes sense, right? That her vibe didn't necessarily match what like Freya was hoping or thinking she would be like. The second half of this book, though, it takes off. I was just when I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm like getting kind of like, all right, like stir crazy almost, like let's get this moving. It's literally at the 50% mark, this book just takes off, and it just does not stop until the end. I don't think Freya's power from hell was innately bad, actually. I really don't. And we later see how she uses her power to kind of give soldiers back their honor, and how her heart is truly, I actually don't know how to say this goddess's name. Lynn? I don't know. I can't pronounce it, but like the shield goddess, whatever you call it, gave her power. So she was innately like a good person. And I think the book, even though it had me questioning, is can power be a curse? I think Freya fortitude really shined in this book. I'll be honest, in the beginning of the book, I thought Freya was so whiny. And by the end, I'm like, she's awesome. Like, how pretty kind of badass, honestly. More that Freya tried to resist her power, I felt like almost the more that it led them all to ruin. Once she kind of came into her own and really embraced how powerful she was, I mean, that was ultimately when she was kind of able to save the day. Stylistically, I thought it was really an interesting choice to have Bjorn be the person that forced Freya through a blood oath to use her power to kill so many people. He was ultimately the driver of the vision. Like, so Saga had this vision that Freya was going to like basically wipe out this entire army, this entire population of people. And Freya fulfills that vision, not of her own accord, but because of a blood oath that Snorri enacted with Eva. And essentially Bjorn is the one that causes all this chaos, these horrible things to happen. And honestly, in the process of all this, ends up being captured through Loki's trickery. He basically remains a captive for the remainder of the story. And it was through Freya's like own cunning, her own ingenuity, like her problem solving, that they were able to defeat him. They were able to defeat Loki and kind of save the day. And I love a strong FMC, but I felt like her character arc was really well done. It wasn't like she just kind of had this insta power. Like, she struggled for a good portion of both of these books with just like who she was and navigating her power and testing her limits and trusting herself as a person. And I really liked that it took her a while to develop that self-trust and to that belief in herself that she wasn't going to basically become a horrible person, that she had control for who she was. I thought it was a really powerful theme to kind of work through and have her character work through. So I really liked that. I felt like this book was very balanced. I thought that even though it took a minute to pick up, I thought it made sense for the overall tone of the book. If you looked at like the duology as a whole, I think it was really well paced. I knew Harold was going to end up being like the bad guy. I had no idea that he was going to be a child of Loki and causing all this chaos because he was a child of Loki, and his only motivation was to get power through that chaos, right? And I thought that was so interesting because, I don't know, I thought there'd be a different backstory. I saw the twist coming, but not in that way. Like, you kind of had like your hackles up. You knew something about him was going to be off. But yes, my favorite twist of the entire story. Overall, I'd give this book 5 stars. I give like a lot of books 5 stars. I know. But it was a great read. I really enjoyed it. And it's really hard for me to get through books right now. So if I liked it, I think you'll like it too. All right, to summarize, you should read this book if you like slow burn second chance, Norse mythology, morally complex characters, and FMCs who don't apologize for their power. We love a strong FMC on this podcast. I would maybe skip it if you don't like dual POV, and if you're looking for a lot of spice. You're not going to really find that in this book. All right, that's all I have for this week. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Maybe share this podcast with someone else who might like to listen and have a friend to hang out with. I will see you all next Monday. Have a great day, guys.